I'm an undergrad studying psychology, and I'm working with the U-TTEC Lab to create a new interview series to talk about psychology for prospective psychological students, and to motivate people who are already in psychology, and also to talk about mindfulness a little bit. Would you mind telling me a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, so my name is Keely Lundy. I am in the process of changing my last name. I just got married. And I
Yes.
am a second year doctoral candidate student in the school psych program at the University of Utah. So I transferred here last year from a different school psych program to be a part of just the program here and work with Dr. Fisher. So, yeah.
Cool. What led you to pursue a degree in school psychology?
So I was really interested in several things. First and foremost, like helping people. And I saw psychology as a route to do that. In particular, persons with autism spectrum disorder, so autism or ASD. I didn't really know where I wanted to go with it, but I knew that there was a lot of versatility or fluidity with the degree of school psych. You can practice in a lot of settings with your PhD in school psychology, and that's kind of what I wanted, was the ability to work at a school, work in a medical setting, clinic setting, with potentially persons with a variety of disabilities, but mainly persons with autism.
Interesting. Why autism in particular?
So at my previous university, Mississippi State University, in undergrad, I worked a lot at applied behavioral analysis clinic. And then over the summers, I got additional, I guess, practicum or internship experience at these different camps and clinics around Tennessee, where I'm from. And all of them were applied behavioral analysis and geared towards specifically helping young children and adolescents with autism. And so it's kind of what my background is in, I guess. I have just a real passion with it, with working with those persons, because I think that it is definitely a spectrum. You might have someone who doesn't need any sort of support and is considered higher functioning and may just need help with those like daily living independent skills. Whereas you might have someone who needs significant levels of support and has maybe no verbal communication, and you need to build those skills. So there's just an array of interventions that you can apply, and supports needed for each person. So,
Okay, that's really cool. How has choosing this degree affected your daily life so far?
well, I feel like, and I mean, just as a school psychology student, um, my life is very much all about school. Grad school is no small thing, especially because I want to get the experience both in schools, medical, and clinical settings that I've kind of volunteered to do so many different things that I don't have enough time for myself, but it's self-inflicted, and I enjoy it, just all the experiences I'm having, but it's also pushed me to be aware of so many different things, maybe different problems and services that persons with a specific disability are getting or not getting. It's helped me look at politics a little bit differently. Advocacy is super important in this line of work, and it's pushed me past my comfort zones with that. Overall, it's pushed me not to have a life, but even but an even more fulfilling one, if that makes sense at the same time. So,
Yeah, it does. That still must
okay.
be hard, though, to not have a life.
Yeah, it is. That's why you have to learn to say no. And they say your second year of grad school is when you get really good at saying no, or your second or third year, because you kind of figure out what you're most interested in, and you stick kind of with that path, and you're able to learn a little bit better boundaries. So,
Do you still get some chances to see friends and things like that, even online?
um, it sucks with COVID, but yeah, I am able to see my friends who are quarantining similar to me. I'm not from here, and so I came here kind of transplanted. I had one good friend and her husband moved here several years ago, so that's what drew me here initially. And then my cohort and I are really good friends, but we haven't gotten to see each other much. So some of us will go on like social distance walks or runs together, and that's pretty good. So,
Okay, nice. What do you think your dream job is after you graduate? Is
um,
graduation the right word?
oh, that's a good question. Yes, I would say graduate. But then there's still so much more training that you need. So like, um, okay, so trajectory of my path is I will, after my fourth year, I'll go on internship. So it's called doctoral internship or APIC internship, my fifth year. And during that year, I defend my dissertation. And so at the end of my internship, I graduate as a doctor of psychology, school psych specifically. And then it's recommended that you go on a postdoctoral internship or a postdoc or fellowship is what some people call it. And so my sixth year, I plan to spend it in a postdoc so that I can get hours being supervised by a licensed psychologist, because I hope to, after I get my doctorate and after I have my postdoc, to be able to sit for the licensed psychological board exam, because I call it the exam, board exam, whatever. There's so many different exams. But I hope to sit for that. And you have to have so many hours supervised by a licensed psych Dr. Fisher is a licensed psychologist. And then a few other people on our faculty are as well. So I get to count several of those hours already, which is great. And then, yeah, so then after my postdoc, then hopefully I'll be an LP and I'll have more of that fluidity to like be able to work in like a medical setting. So I hope to work in a hospital, a children's hospital specifically, providing assessments and maybe some intervention and therapies to hopefully younger children. I really like working with infants, toddlers, and like below the age of 5, and provide like psychological assessments to them. So
That's really cool.
yeah.
Well, it sounds like you've got a great future ahead of you and you have a lot to do now. What do you do to stay focused and stay sane?
So I run quite a bit. I got a dog during COVID, and she's also been super helpful to kind of keep me grounded on like what's important. Um, and so her and I will try to get a run in either every day or every other day, and that's kind of been my way to kind of stay sane, I guess.
Okay, cool. What about mindfulness? Can you tell me,
Yeah.
A, what mindfulness is, and B, if you do practice it, how you practice it on a daily basis or something like that?
Yeah. So mindfulness is being aware of yourself, specifically what's going on in your body, to kind of help you. I see it as regulate your emotions, specifically to like kind of channel those like positive emotions and to keep yourself sane. Mindfulness, I have started to practice a little bit more. It's been an on and off journey for me. I love providing mindfulness interventions because I think it's super helpful. But for myself, I don't feel like I have enough time in the day to dedicate to mindfulness. But I've been trying, and we have a balcony out here. We moved a few months ago, and we have a balcony. And occasionally, when I'm just like super stressed or I've gotten in the pattern of sitting out there in the mornings with my cup of coffee and just kind of sitting and not having my phone, not having my computer, but just kind of like preparing myself for the day, mentally and emotionally. And so that's been kind of my way to incorporate mindfulness in my everyday life, to avoid those like explosions that like those panic attacks or like the crazy anxiety that comes with grad school, trying to prevent it rather than having to implement mindfulness in the heat of the moment. So,
do those happen a lot to grad school students?
I think it depends on your stress, your ability to handle stress. And I think sometimes we're compromised in that. Like during midterms, I was super stressed. I also was planning a wedding and getting married during midterms. So I got pretty anxious. Yeah. But yeah, it hasn't happened. It doesn't happen to me often, but I would say like when a lot of things were going on with my outside grad school life, like personal life, and then school life, and then professional life, it can definitely tend towards more panic attacks, which is good to have mindfulness already in my everyday life to be practicing that before.
Well, cool. That concludes kind of the interview portion. And thank you so much for doing this interview with me. Is there anything else you would like to add in terms of cool stuff about psychology or motivation for prospective students or anything about mindfulness or anything like that?
I think one motivation that's really cool is that Dr. Fisher will like support you really in anything that you want to do research wise. I thought my idea for working with a person's menstruation self-care skills or hygiene skills was going to be like totally off the table. But he's been super supportive and offered like the lab's resources for me to be able to pursue like specifically what I want to make an impact doing. And so I think not just Dr. Fisher, but a lot of the professor or all of the professors in our department are very willing to help support you in whatever way you want. So like if that means getting extra research experience, extra clinical experience, they have a lot of connections and are just always willing to go the extra mile. So I'd say that it's a great department and can meet the needs of a lot of people who are just looking to explore whatever they want. So it's very supportive, and I would encourage everyone to apply if they're interested in school psychology. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much.